Well, you're just reading, it's in the literature. First off, it's all around us, but as you start to look at it and you start to understand what are the hallmarks of aging, right, which are sort of two sides. One is that there are phenotypic expressions. A phenotype is kind of a physical expression of something, right? So genetically speaking, phenotypically, I don't have any hair, right? So that was genetically passed down to me. So that would be a phenotypic expression. So you have a phenotypic expression of aging, right? And the hallmarks are phenotypic expressions of aging, but they're also the drivers. They're also related to the actual biological drivers of aging that are driving the aging process. And what happens is those processes, right now we're up to about 16 of them, those different processes link together in ways where they start to amplify each other. So your body can tolerate some of the aging process, but as it goes along and more of it accumulates, it starts to amplify itself. And the next thing you know, it's accelerating the entire thing in this exponential way. And that's why it's an exponential process.
A very dynamic process.
Very dynamic process, yes. And so for the audience, you need to understand that you're in a very dynamic game. You're in an exponential game. And if you don't have an exponential strategy, then whatever you're doing will work for 4 years, 5 years, 8 years, but then it will be swept to the side as these drivers of aging, which have not been addressed by your linear strategy, continue to progress.
Yeah. Well, before we go on to maybe some of the exponential strategies, I'm just curious, I assume you test for biological age in your practice, right?
Yes, many biological ages. Yeah, probably 60 of them. Yeah, everybody has at least, 60 ages, right, that we can measure directly.
So, I mean, you can correct me if you don't think that's true, but a lot of people believe in the test true age because it has tests for so many methylation markers and have great algorithm. What are your thoughts on that particular test?
It's one biological age. So it's one biological age. And so when you do true age and you get your DNA methylation age, that's great. Okay, fine. But let's look at your brain. Let's see what your brain looks like. Let's do imaging of your brain, do EEGs of your brain, do cognitive assessments of your brain. How young is your brain, right? Or how old is your brain? It can be divergent significantly from your DNA methylation score, right? How old are your kidneys? How old is your heart? What's your cardiovascular system? What do your blood vessels look like? You can have a great DNA methylation age and still have arteries that are going to be a problem. And then the other thing is cancer risk, right? So you can have a good DNA methylation age and still be harboring cancer. So if you're not looking at all the different ages, all the different components, if you're just relying on one test, it's like running a business and saying, okay, well, we're going to look at one metric to analyze how well the business is doing. We're just going to look at cash in the bank. And if we just have cash in the bank, then the business must be doing well. When anybody that is involved with a business knows that's one metric, but you got to know a lot of stuff, right? You've got to know, what's the accounts receivable, what's the inflow, what's the cash flow, what's what's going out, what's the payroll, what's the marketing cost, what's the revenue every month, what's the bad debt. If you don't know all that, you can't really optimize your business. And if you don't know all the mosaic of ages, you can't really optimize your health. You just can't.
Wow. That's a great analogy. So how many ages do you test in your?
About 60.
Wow. That's incredible. So I assume you handpick different age to test for different patients.
It depends on the questions that people are asking, right? So we have different programs depending on what questions you're asking. So if somebody's asking, well, how old am I, right? Then we can work with them for about 3 months. We'll do quite extensive testing for them to give them a sense of where are you with regards to all these mosaic of ages? Where am I? I think I'm doing pretty good, but I really want to know. This is important to me. I've got a lot to live for. I've got lots of plans, and I need to know where I'm at. Okay. Good. We can do that. Here's where you're at. Here's where your assets lie. Here's where your liabilities lie. And here's your path forward if you want to start to address this, right? So that's one program. Another program is I want to live young, right? So that's a 6-month program. We do all that testing, but then we start coaching you, providing you with different things that you need to take or do, and coach you in different exercises and things like that. But now we're actually starting to help you, turn back the clock and make a real difference in the areas that need to be addressed. And then we can reassess at 6 months. And then other people, our biggest program is Live Young for a Lifetime, which is an annual program. People sign up for a year, and they do it year after year, or can do it year after year. And there we're actually bringing all the technologies to bear, right? We have a lot of technologies we use that are inside of IRB-approved trials to be able to do things that you just can't do otherwise that have real benefit in terms of longevity. So, we're all in on this, right? We leave no stone unturned. And I think one of the big differentiators between us and most practices is that most practices, they have a technology, they get married up to a technology. Take stem cells, for example. Stem cells are great, but it's only one technology, right? And so in our world, we have all those technologies, right? And yet we're not married to any of them. We're only married to the questions, right? How do we live young for a lifetime? How do we make 100 the new 30? And so as things come along, we're iterating constantly, looking for the next thing, the better thing, substituting things out, swapping things out. And some things, of course, are durable. Stem cells will never go away. Stem cells are beautiful. They're wonderful, right? You're going to need those, but they're not enough either. Because if you're not addressing the underlying drivers of aging, those hallmarks, right, then stem cells are just another Band-Aid, so to speak. So they can do a lot of miraculous things, but they can't solve the aging problem, right? So anyway, it becomes really kind of a comprehensive approach is what we do. And now we're doing things like transcriptomics and proteomics, where we're actually looking at how genes are expressed relative to the hallmarks of aging. And now we're actually creating custom-built peptides to go in and modulate genetic expression so that we can actually change the course of aging. So, we are all in on this, 100% all in. So
this is a IRB research program that you guys have using these different peptides.
Yeah. And amongst other things, like young plasma, plasmapheresis, rapamycin, certain stem cell products, protocols, things like that. So many, many things are in there. Yeah.
Well, stem cells can definitely do something for aging for sure. As the animal studies are showing that regular IV stem cells are extending the animal's lifespan by about 30% and extending their health span. So they do look younger. But of course, it's 30%. So it's not like 100%, right? So
that's right. That's in animals, not humans. So animals always get a bigger percent boost, right? A 30% in a mouse is, 5% in a human. So, 90% in a worm is 30% in a mouse, which is then, 5% in a human. So we have to take all these things